Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing 10 tips for growing shohin Japanese black pine. The tips that I'm going to share with you are not a conclusive growing guide, of course. They may also be used for any double flush type of pine that you might be growing. If you like the tips that I'm about to share with you and you'd like more, please do comment in the comment section below and I'll be sure to add to them. The following content helpful, then you can thank me by clicking the thanks button just below the video. It's no secret that I'm a big proponent for growing Japanese black pine from seedling cuttings. The reason for this is there's simply no better way to get growth low down in the trunk. As the title of this video refers to shohin, this is what I'm going to assume that you're growing, and therefore this type of growth is invaluable in future years when you're styling the trees. That initial bend low down on the trunk is so important to the future design of the tree. If you only put subtle bends into the trunk line, this is going to disappear as the girth of the trunk thickens over the years. This means that these curves need to be quite exaggerated, and the only window of opportunity that you have for doing this is between 2 and 3 years of age. Wire bite is something that you would usually want to stay away from. However, in this instance, wire bite is a good thing. Now, of course, you want to remove the wire before it's completely enveloped by the tree itself. The result of the wire bite is that it definitely accelerates the thickening of the trunk. But the great thing is that you can wire the tree again and again, and each time it will have the same effect. For most species other than pines, I use sacrificial branches, in other words, branches growing horizontally out of the trunk in order to fatten the trunk. However, the scars that result from when those sacrificial branches are removed is not going to look very nice on a pine because the bark is not going to develop over that area. So instead of using sacrifice branches, we're going to use an escape branch in the case of a pine. Each passing year sees the escape branch getting taller and taller. If you have any significant wind, this is going to grab hold of the foliage at the end of the escape branch and it's going to tip or topple the planting over, and at the very least it's going to damage it or alternatively even smash the pot. Over the years I've experimented with a number of different ways of trying to secure the pot, but the best solution that I've found so far is by using a brick. Although I hate the idea of the extra plastic waste, really the easiest and best method to secure the pot to the brick is going to be using a cable tie. In order for the escape branches to have the desired trunk thickening effect, they must be allowed to elongate. This means that all energy should be focused or directed to the central bud. Any side buds which develop should be removed. However, at no time should you cut the central bud. If you did cut that central bud, it would stop the elongation of the escape branch, and in so doing also the fattening of the trunk. I also like to remove the 3-year-old needles. The main reason for this is as these needles cause shade, and as I have many trees that are developing very close to one another, it's best to remove them to allow the maximum amount of sunlight to reach the trees on the benches. If cones do develop at the terminal bud, it's best to cut these off as it's simply a waste of energy as well. When the trunk is thickened to your liking, the escape branch has effectively done its job. At this point in time, you need to transfer the energy away from the escape branch and then either into the trunk or alternatively into a new escape branch. But you cannot simply just cut the escape branch off. Doing so will severely weaken the tree or may even kill it. There are no doubt many different ways of doing this, however I'm going to show you the method that I use. Using a knob cutter, I essentially cut a very deep groove around the escape branch at the base of it. 1 year later, and you can clearly see that the sacrifice branch, the left branch on your screen, is looking a lot weaker than the branch on the right, which is this year's growth. You will also notice that the sap flow from the escape branch has been interrupted and hence the swelling at the base. Some callus formation is also formed on the other end of this wound. It is at this point that you can safely remove the escape branch without it having any effect on the energy level of the rest of the tree. Of extreme importance is ensuring that you have buds with which to create the branches of the shohin in the future. A very well-fed tree is a prerequisite for creating back budding, but there are other techniques which also stimulate the formation of these buds. Strategic pruning is one of those. When interior buds are strong enough, you can cut those branches shorter and the energy will be redirected into these side branches, which can then be developed further. If you prune the spring candle out, this will form or stimulate adventitious bud formation at the base of that cut. This cut was made a couple of weeks ago, and as you can see, these are the new adventitious buds which have formed as a result. If, however, you cut further back into old needles, this will force the formation of needle buds. However, the formation of these buds is less predictable than adventitious buds. Once again, I have an example of a cut that was made a few weeks ago, and as you can see, there are many needle buds that have formed all along the branch. I once again, however, need to stress the importance of feeding your tree quite aggressively from the beginning of spring, or these buds will not form predictably. Throughout the development phases of these shohin pines, you will be making quite a number of cuts, and some of them may be fairly sizable. It's important that you seal these cuts correctly so that the callus can form and that bark in some time can also then develop over this area. As conifers in general don't heal over very readily, I prefer to use the putty type of sealer with the added hormone, which is the one with the green lid. Using your fingers, apply a small amount of the putty sealer over the wound and ensure that it makes a watertight seal. As I use a lot of organic fertilizer over the course of the season, this tends to break down and form a crust over the surface. This crust makes watering a lot more difficult. So it is advisable when you see this crust forming to remove it by scraping it off. To do that, I firstly remove all of the remaining fertilizer from the surface. Then, using an angled pair of tweezers, I remove the top 5 millimeters to a centimeter of the soil. I then use a scissors to cut away any roots that I might have exposed. If I still need to remove more growing media, I will do that again using my angled tweezers. After cleaning up the surface, I then apply fresh growing medium. If you found that content helpful and you'd like to thank me for it, please do so now by clicking the thanks button just below the video. And that brings us to the end of today's video of 10 tips for growing shohin pines. I hope that you enjoyed the tips, and if you want more, please do make a comment below. Please do like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And then till next time, thank you very much for watching, take care and goodbye.